Approve the minutes from September 18th.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Is there anyone here for public comment? That's approved. Is there anyone here for public comments? So we'll go on to unfinished business, the discussion regarding adoption of procedures for exercise right of the first refusal on tax lien acquired properties. Richard, this is you.
Yeah, so essentially, we have a number of properties that people have the right to purchase. And one of the issues is, how do you do that when multiple people want to buy it? And the statute is unclear on how you deal with that. And my general suggestion to the board is you take the position that if two adjacent landowners want to buy the property, you offer first the one who is a owner occupied. So if you have a rental and you have owner occupied, you offer the owner occupied first. And then if they're both owner occupied or they're both rentals, then you kind of let them decide what they want to do. If neither one of them have an agreement, they want to split it, then you hold an impromptu auction between the two of them. I think that's the fairest way you handle that, because the statute's unclear. Statute doesn't, it just says they have a right to purchase it, but they have to exercise that within 120 days, but it's clear. I read it that, if one person asks for it on day one and one person asks for it on day 119, they both have that right to the property. So how do you make that decision? So that would be what my suggestion is. And we have For example, we have, at least one of the properties has two adjacent owners who want it, and they are both owner occupied. I think another one is owner occupied and rental. So that one, if we went with my solution, be simple, straightforward. The other one, I think I'm gonna talk to the people and decide, because it's gonna be the storage facility buildings, and those need to come down. So it's gonna be who's gonna want to really take on that when they fully understand the liability.
If both properties are owner occupied and they both want it, can we not just put in that procedure that it's split
I
equally and between the two of them and they're responsible for that cost?
You could,
I would rather not leave it up to them to come to an agreement because, well, maybe, but then nothing could happen with the lot. And then my concern is it would go up for auction and, right, because you said if they don't come to an agreement, we would auction it, right?
no, I think you're auction between the two of them.
Between the two of them?
Right, between the two.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean, because if you, let's play this out, okay? Two adjacent landowners say they want the property, you say, well, let's split it in half. And what about if neither one will pay for that?
then
And,
it can go for auction.
right, so I think that's how I would view it. And when I say auction, again, I think it's just between the two of them. Because then they've got options, if one wants to pay to survey it, then the other one's gonna get the benefit of that survey. But that's kind of where they're at. They're gonna have to work together to come up with their resolution, whoever's gonna auction to them.
Well, I think what we could do is offer, say, here's the steps that would take if you two want to split the property. It needs a survey, you split the cost, or, you know what I mean? Like they can walk them through the process. Thank you, by the way, for sending that. That was really helpful. It is interesting that the statute doesn't give more direction in that way, but just another question I had. So in real life, okay, these could be as small as 40-foot lots, right? Based on what the city's history is, a 40-foot lot was a developable lot.
Majority of the lots in Clarksburg
Or 40 foot, right?
Yeah.
So if a lot then is acquired by the adjacent property, they have all the same setback requirements and everything for any development, or if they wanted to expand on their own property or whatever. I guess the question, do they resurvey it as a single parcel?
Not in this situation.
So it
Not
actually,
in this one, but in general, we had said if they pick up one beside and we wanted to put them amalgamate into one title.
Yeah, combine them into.
I mean, ideally, that's what you have, but right now, we're not requiring that. as
I
part of
don't think, well, so we've got two different issues. One, we've got the tax lien properties. I don't think we can require that of the tax lien properties. I think we just have to give them to them as is. So we can't make that requirement. Now, a number of these properties are going to end up going past that process. We have some others that we didn't get on right first refusal, and we put whatever restrictions we want. I understand what you all are saying. I think the survey is ideal for those properties, or you at least do deed restrictions on them so they can't be, so it's very clear that you can't build on those. Or at least you can't build anything that's not a accessory structure.
Right.
So that's something to consider in relation to.
So within the LRI, do we have to create a policy that we vote on at a meeting, and that's how it works for us?
Yeah, I think that's what you would want to do, is what your general policy is for selling adjacent landowners. Well, let's call it non-tax properties. That's what you would do with that one. But right now, of course, we're focused on the tax properties.
Okay, so why can't we require them to combine for tax properties?
Because there's nothing in the statute says we can make that requirement.
Is there anything that says we can't?
No, but I don't believe that's what the intent of the statute was. Because previously, those individuals would have a right of first refusal to go buy the property at the tax sale anyway.
Right.
So.
Which they didn't.
But they didn't.
But they didn't, we don't know if they did or didn't, because we have a right
Oh,
of
we had
first
first
refusal to them.
refusal. Oh, I
That's
see.
the tax ones, yeah.
And that's what my concern is you tell them, well, you have to do this. Well, you're placing additional burdens that the statute doesn't envision. I think the intention was for the statute was to give these people the same rights they would have had, but for the LRA.
But the idea is the highest and best use of the parcel and the development. So if our mission is highest and best use, like James was just saying, what would restrict that person that acquires that at that cost to resell that parcel?
There is no restriction on that. And I don't think we can put a restriction on that. I think the statute, because the right of first refusal trumps your highest and best use.
Why?
Because it specifically says in the statute, you have to offer it to these people.
But it doesn't say it can't be without restriction. I mean, people put property restrictions all the time. Owners do. I mean, like,
Well, that's up to you all.
My concern about it is when we have our planning meetings, we've had things that have happened in the past where we're then put in the position, we had one property that had a house and a garage in the back, remember they wanted to split it. And we had to tell them no, because it doesn't fit with what we're trying to do in the city. And that these type of properties, those concern me, that they would just build, let's say, a garage on it. And then all of a sudden they put enough amenities in it that you could live in the garage. And then 5 or 10 years down the road, they come and they wanna split it because it's now big enough to be an apartment for someone to live alone. And that never should have happened from the beginning. And I don't think that's an unfair road to take or connection to make because we've already seen it.
because if you play that out, you don't have sufficient parking.
Yes.
I mean, it could be then again, back to on-street parking and if we don't want to require off-street parking, all that stuff, you know, we don't want
Right.
to get down that sort of.
Well, if I own a piece of property and that owns a piece of property, and that wins it in the auction, say we both want it, you outbid me, then you come along and say, well, I need some money, so I want something here. So then Mary's sitting on this piece of property,
That she got for just the tax.
for whatever you sell it to her
redemption,
for.
Not
I
necessarily
mean,
the
if you sell it to
value.
her, you have a piece of property between you and her that you really technically can't build on, but you just own it to say, hey, I own a piece of property in Clarksburg. So how does that help anybody? If you have a piece of property between two properties you can't build on, and you just mow grass.
Which we already have a lot of that.
So I think there should be some type of requirement that it has to be put together with. And that buys it, she needs to make that all one piece of property.
That's always been my position, but
Because that way it goes with that property and you can't sell it as a separate.
I
I
feel
wanna be
like that's a
clear.
good opportunity too, to do that lot combination of whoever the purchaser is. And also in the lot combination, you know, they have to come in front of the planning and zoning. Any building that they do, so an accessory structure technically isn't allowed on a vacant lot without a residence. So as far as building an actual garage on there, they would have to do the lot combination anyway.
Or get another variance. I mean,
Right.
why not get something that from the get-go
Right,
reflects
that's what I'm
what you
saying, do it what you want in the beginning and not wait later until you want to go to the garage or whatever. It just seems like money's the water. Then if I would sell my property, then it's just this new buyer would love to have this property, then it's just a mess to where we just already put together.
Well,
I
and I
think,
don't
I
wanna
think the
see
intent of the
either-
value of the property increasing by offering it to those that are already invested. I mean, if you lay out what the mission of it is. If you combine it or require the combination, then that way you're sort of getting the intent of increasing the value of owned or occupied or rental occupied building in the city, which enhances what we're trying to do, I think, and addresses what you just said is the real problem.
Yeah, otherwise you have a piece of property here, a piece of property here, the city owns a piece of property now, they're mowing grass on it, it's a liability to the city. But however, it could still just wind up to another property owner instead of the city, and it's just sitting here as a vacant lot, which is still somebody else mowing the grass besides the city, hopefully they're mowing the grass. But it's not helping anybody, in other words. And if if it is one piece of property, and if they wanna come build a garage, then they are increasing the value of their property.
So Richard, what James is talking about as he describes that, I mean, I didn't see a specific thing in the statute that says you can't put any.
It doesn't say you can, but I don't think that's the intent, and my advice is not to do it.
Well, I
I mean,
respect your
and remember,
position.
we're only, at this point, we're talking about 3 or 4 properties.
Well, but
Yeah,
that's
that's
not
what I
the
wrote.
case.
I understand
Yeah,
that.
I mean, ideally, it would be a lot more properties, right?
Well,
Can we maybe come up with a draft and send out a draft of that policy? Because we need to vote on it to move it forward. Like when we do these properties here, I suppose we can do that by resolution
Well, by motion, yeah.
or motion, but
yeah.
we still need to come up with a policy
Correct, yeah. I think
for the LRA in general too.
But I think if this represents what our policy would look like, we probably ought to walk the talk at this stage too.
So wait to do B until we have that in place?
Oh, no, I think we could do it by motion, right? I mean,
Yeah,
we're not restricted, and I'm kind of want to delve into Richard's reticence a bit more about why you recommend not. And just a little more clear. I realize we could make a decision outside of that, but your reticence about that is, I mean, if it's about setting a precedent, that's what we want to do.
I'm not worried about the precedent, I'm worried about the fact that the statute, I don't think that's what the intent of it was. I think if you're challenged, it's not gonna hold. And you're already trying to fill in the statute as it is, which makes sense, but now you're trying to add additional restrictions on there that you don't have. And I think your better position is, you deal with these handful here. I think that we need to suggest to the municipal league to amend the statute in January, which they can probably get done, to add and allow you to put those restrictions on. That's my thought process.
Have we contacted the municipal league to see if they have the ability to do that?
Sure.
I mean, I'll just,
I mean, because it's on the list, and we need to suggest to them to deal with the other issue, which is how you deal with property when multiple people want to have it.
so what should we do about B then? If we're gonna,
Are we talking about B or A?
well, both, because.
That's 2 different situations.
Okay.
Isn't South Chestnut Street exactly what we're talking about?
No,
Why is that?
because South Chestnut Street doesn't have a right to purchase the property. The city owns that property. It's not a right of first refusal. I'm
Okay,
only talking about subsection A. For subsection B, for properties that have gone, don't have a right of first refusal, I have no issue with that. You all can put whatever restrictions you want on it.
so for A, we'll talk to the municipal league and then next time we'll put it on to vote on that procedure and policy? Is that,
My suggestion would be you adopt the stuff in front of you for this year, for the handful of properties we have. And then work with municipal league to change that in January.
Then we couldn't go back and.
No, you couldn't go back.
Right, you can't go back.
But you can change there's no reason you can't put restrictions on the next round, which you're gonna get in. You're not gonna deal with these properties again until probably March. It's probably gonna be late next summer before you deal with these properties again.
what does the committee want to do?
I guess I'm more inclined to act upon what our general intent is, in the lack of specific guidance in the, I don't know, I'm talking out loud just to verbalize it, but without specific guidance, it tends to give leeway to us for interpretation, just like it would be anybody. And then, again, if the challenge is such that we would then adopt whatever that challenge is as part of our policy, that would give us more information. And right now, it's not specifically restricted to put that requirement on the parcel that I can see.
Right, I agree with that. I understand what Richard's saying,
I do too.
but at the same time, what's the big hurry to do this? I mean, can we have municipal make a modification? Does it have to happen today? I mean, it's already middle of October, can this not be tabled till after?
Richard, out of the list that we have, how many of these are tax acquired properties?
At this point, I think we have, most of them, I think there were about 12, but most most of those, no one exercised the right to it. I think we have about 4 properties. For example, we've got one, she's ready to pay for it right now. And I think there's 2 or 3 more we have to work through with the owner once you all decide how you want to proceed, because I think there's 2 different owners that want it.
So without any sort of movement forward, adopting or, tabling item A on the agenda, that's gonna also keep that transaction from happening and getting the property back in the tax.
That is correct.
Well, but it's been 13, I mean, when we talked about it, it's not like this has happened yesterday. This parcel's been in the tax process.
No, this isn't. That's
It's been in the
not
tax process for a while.
It's since May of 24. And I will point out, this is the 3rd time we've had this on the agenda.
Well, that's not my, we just need to make the right decision about it.
Would there be anything wrong with making a motion to adopt this and amending it later on once we get a little bit more information on it?
You could.
Or
We
once the
can't
municipal
adopt, we
league-
can't amend this decision because this is what gives him authority to move on the sale of that property. So if we're gonna act on it, we have to put the condition on it now, because this is a specific situation. It seems to me, right? I mean, I'm just thinking, I'm saying what I'm hearing, because the next thing is a policy that would just dictate whatever the practice is going forward. Which adds more detail, as Richard said, where the statute is not
So is the
specific.
preference just to wait till our November meeting?
If we can get resolution by that time, I mean,
Yeah, the municipal league has to make the resolution.
No.
that's happening in the legislative session
Yeah.
in January.
So that's not going to go into effect
So
until
it's
next
not to
June.
be tabled till.
At the earliest, that'd be June.
Well, they may,
So it's
the
on site,
municipal league may have some insight as to what other municipalities are doing. Rather than us trying to call the municipalities, we can call the municipal league and they'll do that legwork and find out what the others are doing.
Or,
That's
who has, Huntington and,
Charleston, Wheeling,
so they may already.
Fairmont. I did get online to look up, but they didn't have specific language on it. I did just look up there, which ones had that range yet. So there's about 7.
So maybe if we just do this little bit more investigation in November, people will be comfortable either moving forward or waiting if something has to be changed.
Yeah, and let me just throw this out, Richard. I guess this isn't an auction parcel, right? This is I'm willing to take the parcel as it with the costs situation, A.
I don't understand your
I mean,
question.
this isn't one where we're offering a bid to,
No,
this is just an outright.
right, you have several others that are in that position.
So in this particular case, you can ask the adjacent property owner if they're willing to put that condition in there, and that's so we can proceed with it. If they're not willing, we have to wait until we have more distinct policy. I mean, possibly give the option to the owner that says, here's the direction that the LRA is heading. If you're willing to, I mean, maybe that's the intent in the first place, is to say, I just want to amend my property and keep it that way. And add to my value by extending my lawn or something. If they're willing to do that, we could proceed with that particular parcel. If they're not, we could have to table it until we have a more specific policy. I mean, I'm just trying to think of an option that might be amenable to the property owner. Does that make sense? As an option?
A little bit, but again, I go back to the fact, I think you're trying to do restrictions you don't have the authority to do.
Well, we're giving them an option.
I understand that.
And then, or holding the decision until we have the authority to make it.
I understand that.
Okay.
I'm just
Is there
pointing out my position.
is there a way to ask for a formal interpretation of what? I know you're telling me it's not specifically in there, or it's not, doesn't say you can't, it sounds like it could look to me within my profession. There are ways to formally ask for an interpretation of what that is. Is there any process to do that?
You can ask the Attorney General for a position, but I don't know how long that would take.
Right. I mean, I think if it's the case that the municipal league is advocating for amendments to the statute,
I'm not aware they are right
we
now.
can, or we
want to
suggest
ask
that
them
they
to
do.
do that.
Yeah, correct.
Is that what I'm hearing, is you would like to at least table it to November?
Unless we wanna offer the, option for the property owner to advise the council to discuss with the property owner if they're willing to, take the property by and incorporate it into their resurvey and incorporate, what's the language, Jason, I'm looking?
Lot combination.
Yeah, lot combination. If
Is
so, we can proceed with the,
Is that a question outside of our authority?
Yes,
why?
I mean, you can ask them, but I don't think you can hold it up to them. If you're gonna do that, you're better off to at least ask them to do deed restrictions, so they don't have an additional cost involved to do the survey. Because you're still going back to the fact that they had the right to go to the tax lien sale and purchase the property. And now you're asking them to spend another few $1,000s on a survey to recombine,
And
which they would have had to do.
so is the concern that we don't know if they went to the tax lien sale?
We have the right
I don't
of
think
first
it matters.
refusal. They didn't, so we got it first before they had a chance to go to the tax lien sale.
I think it's
So
just,
we wouldn't even know if they went and they wanted it.
Well, that part didn't happen because in the statute, we do have a right of first refusal.
that's correct.
And the right of first refusal stops that transaction before it goes to tax sale, so they didn't have that process. But the question I have, and I don't want to belabor it, but the reason we got the right of first refusal in the statute is to allow land reuse agencies to look at the highest and best use for cities and the development of neighborhoods and cities, correct? I mean, that's the purpose.
That is the general purpose of the,
So as we lay that one out, for us to make that determination, we have responsibility by taking the right of first refusal of making the decision that best develops the city in an appropriate way. Therefore, without further advice from the statute, we can suggest to the property owner that in lieu of having policy, we will offer that. If not, we will wait until our formal policy is adopted. That's our two options, correct?
I disagree.
Do we have a third option?
I think your option right now is to move forward and convey these properties to people willing to buy them.
So do we know what they plan to do with these properties? Once they
We have no idea, and I don't think we have the right to know that.
I think we do. I think we do have the right to do that as far as, like what you just said, highest and best use. In fact, I would not mind these property owners or whoever's wanting to buy these properties coming in and present to us a drawing, as I've said before, of, hey, this is what I want to do. And if it's just a yard, then say, hey, we just want to make this our yard so we can have more information and make a better informed decision on the decisions we're making up here as a board. And not just hand these people over money, at least have, I mean, if we're getting a property, at least they should have to make some effort to come in and present to us at least what they want to do.
Because there's
Yeah,
value,
so
there's value.
My question, Richard, because I know what you're saying about the statute. But then, but for giving the government the right to come in first, isn't that with the assumption that then we're going to do what within parameters, what we believe is best for that land? Because if they didn't want us doing that, then why would they give us the right of first refusal and an LRA?
Exactly.
Why are we even a committee?
Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
I think
If they
that,
wanted us to have this, like, follow the statute, I'm not saying not follow the statute, then wouldn't they just make us participate like anybody else? And then if we were the highest bidder, then we would be the highest bidder.
no, I don't think that's correct. I think they wanted to ensure that the city, that LRA, had the right to get the property, but they wanted to respect the right of the adjoining landowners. Remember, we're
And we
only
do
talking,
too. I think this doesn't disrespect the right of the adjoining property.
I think it does in that the adjoining landowner, prior to the creation of the LRA statute, had the right to go get the property.
Well, then I don't think we have an option except to table it until we have a policy, and that policy, then we can exercise it universally to all the parcels as we develop it. If there's not a third option to offer in this particular case, that the property owner has the option to follow this step.
Is that your motion? To table it?
Yes, that's my motion.
Is there a
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Uh,
It's tabled.
For clarification.
Further clarification. Now we have consideration of granting authorization to sell 213 Quincy, 311 Davis, and South Chestnut Street. So Rich, explain why these are different.
Because they're properties that weren't purchased at sale and offered on the right of first refusal.
Okay,
So they're the LRA's properties to do with whatever they want.
so in our consideration, can we put in those, what we want done with those land, that
Yeah.
land?
You can require it to be joined as one parcel.
So we want to require a survey with, and the cost covered by the purchaser,
And a lot combination through planning and zoning.
and a lot combination.
So just one other point about this one, and I think
I think,
that could, yeah.
well, I mean, it would be nice to have a drawing again, it'd be, so we knew what we were talking here, and what the,
So you want to require that they give that to the planning commission?
well, I just mean even for us right now, let's say, hey, where's 213 Quincy, I mean, yes, I can sit and Google it, but I don't feel that.
Okay.
So put pictures in the packet.
Yeah,
Something
I
like
think
that,
that
yeah.
would be helpful in the future. A map and at least an aerial and a few photos of the property, so we can have a better idea what we're talking about instead of just an address.
Okay, and do any of these properties, both neighbors want it?
No, and doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter.
No, that doesn't matter in this situation.
No, it doesn't matter, but if we were being consistent, would we, it could be such that if you had two interested parties on both sides, you'd offer that to both or something. Yeah, we
You
follow
could
the
if you
same.
want. I mean, you could if you wanted to. The reason it's offered to, under subsection A is because the statute says you have to. We have to send out, now remember, for the other properties, the tax lien properties, we have to send out letters. I sent out letters to everybody back in June about their right to get this. These other properties we don't have to do anything.
Right.
We can market them, we can put them on the internet, we can auction them, we can do whatever we want with them. So. I know South Chestnut Street, the owner has asked about those, and DOH is on one side of it, so they don't want it.
Okay,
And the other one, when I last talked to him, he was gonna talk to the owner on the other side about buying his property, because again, it's just vacant lot, and on South Chestnut, we would not sell it to the other adjoining landowner, because that landowner just has a vacant lot, he doesn't have a house
okay.
there.
Okay,
311 Davis, I think, doesn't have any adjoining property, and we're not sure if anybody wants that. We just want to get it off the list. And 213 Quincy, the owner approached us about that one.
So I'd like to make a motion, concerning item B, is, we do a lot combination, including a survey, and then present it to planning and zoning for that lot combination to be recorded as such at the courthouse. And the costs associated with that, the burden of the landowner.
And can we also ask that they can tell us what their proposed use is for?
Yeah, we can add that in there. And what I'll do, I'll prepare one of these, as you mentioned, and send it to you
Well,
guys
yeah.
through email and say, is this kind of what you guys want?
Again, I would just like somebody to come in and present, and say, hey,
Right.
I own this property, I want to acquire this property, here's a little drawing that shows what I want to do with it.
can I ask that we had just asked them, they can come in and present, but if it's just, I want to have a bigger yard, maybe by email.
Well, yeah, if it's something like that, yeah. But
Yeah,
I think a form could sort of
Yeah.
address a lot of that. like,
because
I
we have
proposed
these
you-
meetings during the day
if
and
we have a parking lot, let's say you have an apartment building like we had before, right?
Yeah.
Somebody wants to put a parking lot, I think there needs to be a drawing so you can see how it affects the flow of the traffic, and if parking, just because they say they want a parking lot, doesn't necessarily mean a parking lot's really gonna work on that piece of property.
Okay, we'll create that form as well. Is there any additions? I need a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
This will be helpful to get some information back on, now we'll have 3 parcels that have different situations, so if Richard, anything comes out of this that can help guide us on the policy, and Jason, whatever you see,
Okay.
helps us make good decisions, I think.
We will go on to LRA property updates. Jason, do you want to run through this map?
So delivered to you guys was the current inventory of LRA properties. Miss Annette had just asked if we can add a column in there, Richard, about, which ones are tax acquired that would be under subsection A of the agenda.
So at this point,
It's all the ones that are in June. I can tell that by looking at it.
Yeah, so
It's for clarification for everybody.
and I'd have to go back and look specifically the ones, because most of them have gone past the 120 days, but if they're in on the 6/12/2025, are properties that were subject to subsection A, but not all of those anyway do it. So like the 132 Denham was one, I'd have to look at some of the others, but there's only 3 or 4 total on that. But I can get that, I can go back and look at those.
Of course, everybody understands the recent addition to the LRA inventory is the YMCA. City staff's been working hard to try to come up with a solution for all of that. Linden Grade School is also listed on here that was previously transferred to a developer on that one. And if there's any other questions about the 508 Horner Avenue property. 508 Horner Avenue was a donation to the Land Reuse Agency. It currently has a home sitting on it that's got a real bad cockroach infestation. We're going to demo that house on our next round of demolitions. Actually today, possibly right now, Dodson Brothers is up on site treating for the cockroaches before we do the demo to keep them from spreading to neighboring homes. That property there has a potential use for off-street parking for one of the landlords that owns properties along Horner Avenue. So he's in agreement with trying to get that developed into a parking lot for off-street parking for his tenants.
This kind of goes back to a question. Thank you for this list, by the way. This is very helpful having this.
Richard created it, I made it pretty.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Jason. And thanks for it being pretty. Just a point that maybe in our work session or in our policy development, I want to lose my train of thought. Hold on a second. Like 508 Horner. I think I brought that question up in my email. Like Richard had said in an earlier meeting that the chairwoman or whoever's in the chair position has the authority to accept parcels on behalf of the LRA.
Yes.
And that's something I need more information on. Like how is that not a motion of the organization to accept or reject? And part of that lays out to accepting any liability or environmental remediation requirements or things of that nature. That seems to me something that if we're as a board, this is my question. Where does that authority exist for accepting parcels?
I believe it's in the statute.
I didn't find it, but that would be helpful if I could see it.
All right, I'll find it.
Okay.
Oftentimes, these are kind of spur of the moment decisions that landowners make. And
Sure.
like Richard has gotten me quitclaim deeds within the day of trying to obtain one of these properties. We have not went after anything that we don't already have some sort of a use for, or it's a condemned property that's been a nuisance.
Sure.
The 508 Warner Avenue is a perfect instance of
Yeah.
it's been condemned for several years. Nobody went forward with trying to do any remediation of that property. And the gentleman was in the office one day and he was talking to me about, I just want to tear that house down. I said, would you be interested in donating it to the Land Reuse Agency?
Yeah.
And there's a couple other ones on here that were donated that way. Actually, I don't see any others that were donated that way. We're currently working with some quick claim deeds for some vacant lots, other vacant lots along Warner Avenue. Um,
I don't have I'm not saying I'm objecting, I just, as I'm picturing how we operate going forward, build our structure for the LRA, that's just an element of, um, something I'd like to know as an organization, as an agency, like what is the process for granting, accepting, and then how do we put, either arm's length or requirements on, like, we don't know if there's been, you know what I'm saying, a abandoned gas well, for example, or a gas tank.
We'll bring that information to the next meeting, Richard, if that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that what you all need to think about is, do you just want us to accept, because most of these that we've accepted they're just empty lots that are been essentially abandoned. That's what they are. So that's the question, and to me, that's the main goal of the LRA, is to get these abandoned lots back into productive use.
As well, I would like the LRA, if possible, so Jason has compiled a list of city properties that are owned by the city, and I would like this committee to go over those and see, I think some of them, the city actually doesn't need. So if this committee can go over that, and the list is huge, and say, you know, our recommendation to council is we move these into the LRA because we believe they have a better use that can move the city forward. And I would like to do that as well with this committee, if everybody's all right with that.
Yeah, I'd like to see, and that's part of I think that's part of the review, and what's the, advantage, you know, I mean, the whole
Yes.
idea of weighing that as part of the inventory that the LRA would then, because I guess the vision would be that we would have a, less of a response, or including a responsive nature, but also a development nature, you know, in our work too.
Yeah.
See, looking forward as to what makes,
And
like this parking lot business, just a thought. You know, the risk of a parking lot in neighborhoods, which we have seen in the neighborhoods, is parking RVs permanently or semi-permanently.
Well,
which-
this would be specifically for an apartment building. That's right, he turned a house into a 5 or 6 unit, which in my opinion never should have happened. And there's nowhere for them, there's not one spot on site, and that historically it doesn't appear that it's been enforced, that if you're gonna build a multi-unit home and rent it out, you have to have parking. So there's a number of areas in the city where we see this, Horner, Clay Avenue. There's a couple others that are particularly bad. So when we have this opportunity to put restrictions on, it'll be private parking specifically for that building, for
Tenant park.
tenant parking for like residential vehicles, not recreational vehicles, work vehicles, none of that. Like if you're living in that home or people visiting you, we would put those restrictions on it, but right now,
When you say we, is that us?
yes,
Okay, because that's
yes.
what I'm
We
interested in.
here,
We here,
would put
that's
that
what I would.
restriction on that.
It's not about necessarily, you know, choking down development, it's about making sure
No, it has to be
you're
done right.
doing it appropriately for the
Yes.
development of the neighborhood so that everybody gets the value raised.
Yeah, I think some of these properties you find out, the zoning may need changed on them to get the highest and best use. Just because it was residential before doesn't mean that it should probably be residential again. That just, there's lots of areas in Clarksburg, I'm not on the zoning committee, but I think,
Do you wanna be?
do I want to be? You don't want to put up with me on two committees.
Volunteers, okay, so I deviated.
I mean, a lot of these, let me just examine, a lot of these were residential neighborhoods, but that was before Route 50 came through, so now a lot of these residential neighborhoods are sitting on prime commercial property, but it's still zoned residential. So it's-
R1.
Right, so it needs, yeah. Anyway. I'll be off.
But that's part of the decision that I think we want to see the fullness of the
Well,
information.
And to build on that, eventually I'd like to separate out this chart to have like the lots, there was 3 or 4 lots in a row, and what can we use those for, and what should be commercial, retail, and all that those different things, so we can, once the list is bigger, once we go over that city list, it's actually sectioned out for what's appropriate. And putting that in the plan that we're creating, I'll put the plan on the next agenda as well. I deviated from the agenda, I apologize, because D and E, will need to go into executive session.
Okay.
Just real quick, just when we do talk about some of these properties, in the future, at some point, I'm not meaning in the next meeting or the next one, or maybe 6 months from now, would it be possible to maybe have like a work session with
Yes,
us and the zoning committee possibly?
I think that would be beneficial, and if we could do that and set aside enough time to do a fairly large work session, at that time, I could also have prepared the list that the city currently
That's what I'm,
owns.
yeah. We're gonna
And do this list and that list collaboratively together
Great
and
idea.
go over everything.
Exactly.
The list that she's mentioning the city owns is large, and
Is it?
yes,
So that's
Um,
kind of what I'm thinking.
Hundred?
yeah, close to it.
it's very comprehensive.
And just so everyone's aware, these properties that we would discuss that the city currently owns would fall under something similar as item B. These aren't gonna be anything to do with item A on today's agenda because they're not tax acquired properties
Right.
through the right of first refusal.
Right.
So those could be marketed or sold or, any which way, as Mr. Marsh said, you could even online auction them. There's different methods to get rid of those properties. But as city staff, we've already kind of looked at the city list. We need to make sure that there's no sewer line right of way through these, or, if it was acquired for a certain particular reason. And that's gonna take a little bit of time too.
So, for executive session,
I didn't prepare that motion, but it's, pursuant to chapter 6, article 90, section 4, the law will adjourn to executive session to discuss financial matters or property and such.
So moved.
and we'll need,
Second.
Steve, police, the city attorney, this board, the city clerk, and Dr. Nicholson. All those in favor?
Aye.